Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the part 2 of the Morton saga.
Woo woo.
On this
Part
one,
two.
the headlining act will be Dana Morton. Dana, how are you this morning or afternoon? I guess it's afternoon now.
I'm good.
Good deal. So, we will have Tyler in the background, so if he decides to chime in, just everybody know that Tyler is still in on this podcast. And again, we appreciate
I'm
both
here.
of you sacrificing what little time you freely have to sit down and talk with us about your walk with the Lord and just kind of giving some helpful hints and tips on how you made it through. And so we started Tyler's story from the youngin' age, so we will start there with you as well. Were you brought up in a family that was Christian-based, and were you sort of remember Christ at an early age in your childhood?
Yes. So the culture in which I was raised is a little different than I would say like the Midwest version of things are. But I did know, I'd say from a very young age, I understood who the Lord was and
where'd you grow
understood.
up?
Okay, so everywhere. My mom was kind of a gypsy that way, but from like born in California, so elementary age would be Washington State, middle school would be Idaho area, and then high school would be Nevada, Vegas area. So, and then college, Missouri. So, and in that we moved around all the time throughout those places. So it was like we weren't really anywhere very long when I was growing up. But yeah, so my mom, it's a complicated story, but she loved Jesus very much, but she had a hard time with people. So like going to church regularly wasn't necessarily what we did, but it's not like God wasn't present in our home. He absolutely was. And in the times we did consistently go to church, we made very good relationships with those people, and I remember all of them very well. So it's not like God was absent from our lives, but it wasn't like I was like raised in church, you know. I would say that we were, but like we also there were consistent times, but not always, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah.
So, as a kid, for those of you that don't know who Dana is or what Dana does here at the church, Dana, would you like to inform everybody of exactly what it is that you do here at Home Church?
So, my main role would be the worship pastor here, me and Tyler. And so my role in that is the morale of the worship team, the organizational structure, in implementing new processes that would benefit us in the organization of things, or making sure it's running smoothly. Morale is up, the heartbeat of Jesus throughout it all. Just connecting with people, making sure their hearts are good. Also, in lieu of morale, you're doing like worship day out or team nights, or just implementing meetings where we're reconnecting as a team, that kind of stuff. Also, I am in charge of the vocals and making sure that everyone sings when they're supposed to and the parts that they're supposed to. And scheduling all the vocals. Stuff like that. Just little things like that.
And so in Tyler's story, we heard him talk a lot about how you guys were a part of a lot of openings of churches and churches' beginnings and stuff like that. So has worship mainly been your area of service in the church, or how did you sort of root yourself into church and serving in the church?
So when I was in high school, well, before that, even apart from my family, decided to be involved in the church on my own when I had to grow up really fast. So I made a lot of big grown-up decisions even as a younger child, and would ask people to take me to church, and would get rides. Even if my family wasn't going, I would love to go. But when we lived in Nevada, we lived in an right outside Vegas it's a little teeny tiny town called Indian Springs. And it's home of the Thunderbirds. I don't know if you've heard the Thunderbirds. They're the performing jets. Anyway, so they're a big deal in the West Coast. Maybe not here.
They like fly over.
Yeah, they do
They're like a
jet
stunt team
tricks
with,
and
like,
stuff like that. Yeah.
If it's 10 miles outside of my radius of my home, I probably don't know about it. So.
Well, they are a big deal.
Thunderbirds.
That was our school mascot, even the Thunderbirds. But anyway, So when I was like high school age, I started going to this. I mean, when I say little, I mean like 30 people church, and because the town was so small, and I had a pastor there. Her name was Miss Kim, and she was the pastor because there was nobody else to be the pastor. She was a phenomenal pastor, don't get me wrong, but she never considered it like, she just was filling, and this woman is a saint, let me just tell you, but she was just filling a need. And I would attribute a lot of my now walk with God to her taking me under her wing and that being somebody for me that I didn't have in my life. And because our lives at that point were pretty complicated. And so she got me to go to a youth camp called YFN, which is in Dallas. It's at one of the biggest youth camps in the nation, and it's phenomenal. And there I saw a performing, well, not a performance, but like a minute. I didn't know the difference back then, I didn't even know where 2 Samuel was in the Bible. I wouldn't know the difference. But a Bible college group called Master's Commission was there, and they did one of the services, and I was just like in awe of who they were. And right out of high school, another guy that I went to high school with went to Master's Commission, and it like changed his life. And I didn't know why or how, but I just knew he was a different person coming back after a year of there than him going before. And I worked as a waitress in a casino, and I was just living life and doing my thing, and going down probably a path that wouldn't have led me to where I am right now, And she wound up just connecting with me and saying, like, is this what you want for your life? And I said, no, but I don't have any other options because, I was literally at 17 living my own life. Like, I lived on my own. I had my own job. I didn't really have anyone supporting me to, believe in me to do big things, And she was like, so if you could do anything, what would you do? And I told her I would go to Master's Commission. That's what I really wanted to do. And within like a week, she had gained support for me. And I think by the end of that summer, which was like, that would have been, I was turning 20, so like a couple years after high school or whatever. I graduated when I was 18, so that was a couple years for me. But anyway, so she sent me on my way by the end of that summer to start my first year at 20, which normally is just, you're supposed to go when you're like really like 17, 18, and to Master's Commission. And so, which is a Bible college. It's more of a hands-on Bible college. You still take all the Bible college courses and everything, but you travel and you do ministry in all parts of the country and world even. Like, there were teams that went to Ireland and Canada, Mexico. But yeah, because of that, I've been to almost every single state. I have gotten to see more than most people in their life have ever gotten to do or see. And it was one of my, greatest joys. It was very hard because then after I graduated, wound up staying and joining leadership there. And then after that, and finished my, Bible college licensing and all of that. And then wound up becoming a staff member for that program too. So, but where my heart was more in because, 20 years ago, drama in the church, human videos, all that. It was really big. And it was a very prominent part of church at that time. And that is where my heart was. I loved that stuff. So
you loved that outside of church? I mean, was that something that or was it that seeing that?
No, if you asked me when I was a little girl what I wanted to do with my life, aside from being a mom, I would have said be on Broadway.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the theatrical
Yes.
sort of scene was something that you inheritedly loved
just
anyway.
Absolutely. My mom raised me on musicals. I just absolutely love that kind of stuff, yeah.
And so that was kind of just the natural fit to you, is this whole,
I couldn't fathom being able to do something like that with my life at that point.
Yeah.
It was like a dream come true for me, yeah, absolutely.
And so you come from this, the whole, you're coming out of college, all of this sort of thing. What is it that so obviously something to do with ministry, but where did you finish? You said you came to Missouri for college, so was it Evangel or?
No, it was Master's Commission.
Master's
Yeah, the program was here,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this something that you're wanting to make this a full-time job, or what are you looking to do whenever you finish college?
So the idea of people, I was not raised to dream big. So like, it's not like I saw anything outside. I never thought of like my future. So being offered opportunity was like this huge thing for me. And so coming out of master's, having traveled in master's, I was kind of forced into the role of, not forced, like nudged into the role of worship leader. When I went to master's, I didn't know I sang good. No, not that I say I sing good now, but I also didn't know like that I could sing harmony. I just did it because it was a need I felt. The worship leader for our program, because like we would travel all over the country and we would lead worship. We would do all the things for that church, like take over the church for a day. We would help in the youth ministry, the children's ministry, and we just got hands-on opportunity in every area of ministry. We would meet with leadership. We got mentored a lot by leaders all over the country, and we got to see how they did their processes and everything. It was like this invite into what ministry looked like, to where anywhere you moved in the world, you would have gotten a little insight on how ministry is there, right? And so for me, people saw my potential that I did not know I had, and mentored me to different areas. So like after master's was over, I had several churches around the country, and this is not me tooting my horn. This is just like something I was like, what? Like saying, will you come be part of our church? We'll give you a job if you move here. Da, da, da. And it was me saying like, I didn't see that I felt like they were like crazy. You know, I didn't see a future for myself, I'd say. And so everyone had these big plans for me, but I didn't know like how to like be grateful for that or whatever. And so basically, I went back to Vegas for a little bit and kind of just caught my bearings, and then was getting phone calls of people asking me to go help them with their masters and build their masters. And I chose one, even though I was like, felt like I might have been done, I still chose one to go help them build their masters there too. So I was in a master's commission from being a student until like the last, helping the last master's that I did I was like 8 years. So it was a pretty long time of like you don't have like a life outside of masters. You're on the road, you're, helping build communities, you're helping the community. We would have days where we served and we would go clean communities and mow their lawns and, help them organize their, like your whole life is just giving. And so I was like pretty exhausted, I'll be honest. And there's no really, unless you date someone within the program, which I told you I joined when I was older, so these are all very much younger men than me. And so unless you date within the program, you kind of like don't have an opportunity to meet someone outside because you're like on the road, you're going. And so it was very like, I wasn't like lonely, but I also couldn't I was like, you're like 5 years younger than me, which is funny because he's 4 years younger than me, but I like couldn't see myself.
My boy's got it though. My boy's got it though.
Like I had a very hard time with any kind of commitment or dating. Like I was also very cringe and hard for me I had a very severe commitment issue, and I was just like, no, thank you. So I was perpetually single. I can't say I ever even had a long-term relationship, but a lot of that was because of going in this program. So once outside of it, I was pretty much lost at what I was going to do with my life aside from, wanting to be in ministry in some capacity. And joining and being a part of a church body as a staff member is a very personal thing. So my idea of like, unless I knew someone, I couldn't see myself just like applying at a church and being on their staff. You got to trust the leadership you're under because your relationship with God is so personal that like you got to make sure that who's teaching you, who's leading you is where your heart lines with, And I was so terrified of like applying somewhere and then, morphing my whole life to do said job, whether it's in this state or another, and then like realizing that like my heart really doesn't fit with that place. So I was pretty like wandering there for a little while. It was a hard season after master's to try to figure out, because by this time I was 29, so it was like, what am I going to do? Oh, I do need to do something with my life, So it was not that I wasn't doing something with my life prior, but I really was like, I have no idea what to do at this point. But yeah.
So if you folks were doing your homework and listening as you should, we know that the age of 29 is when you two got married, correct?
Yes.
So we're coming out of Master's Commission. What brings you? You said that you went to Las Vegas for a little bit. What brings you back to Little Old Missouri?
So from Las Vegas, I got quote unquote recruited, I guess you say, to help the Masters in Texas. And that Masters was split between Wyoming and Texas. So half the year was in Wyoming and half the year was in Texas. And while I was in Texas, I probably could have stayed there longer, but there was some difficulties that happened that were very damaging. Not the Master's Commission. It happened it was just a situation that happened to me in my life that made me need to retreat.
Yeah.
And it messed me up pretty bad. And so I had a friend come visit during that time. Her name is Amanda. And she was one of my leaders in the early days of Master's Commission. We stayed best friends for many, many years. Her and her husband are now pastors at Bloom Church in Branson, which we helped plant. And she came to visit me, and I was just broken at the time and knew that I was going to be moving on, but didn't know how, where, or why, any of that. And one day she had it was just me and her chilling in my tiny little apartment, and she was like, we were just talking about the future and this and that, and she's like, do you want to be married and this and that? I'm like, I want nothing more. I just don't know how I'm ever going to, in this life, I'm not going to meet somebody, or whatever. And she's like, what's so funny is there's this man that would be so perfect for you. And she said, I don't really talk to him anymore. And I know he's like been dating this one girl for like 4 years. She said, but man, if he was single, I would get him on the phone today for you or whatever. And I was like, thanks for finding the perfect man for me that is married. I'm practically married is what I said. And but long story short, in that time that we were together, her and she asked if I wanted to come back to Missouri with them, and because they were going to try to plant a little church. And this was prior to Bloom, but and just go. And she said I could stay with them for a little while until I figured out kind of what my path was going to be. And I took her up on it and packed up. And by that, like he said, I'm a goer, I'm a doer, I'm a leaver. So packed up, got my car packed up, and moved back to Missouri with them because I met them here in Missouri. This is where they were planted. So, and literally my first week back is when I met Tyler. It was so random. It's crazy how cool it is, but.
So we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
But one question and one thing that I would like to talk about is you two have talked about helping plant multiple churches. Not only have you seen multiple churches be planted, you've also seen falls of churches. Mm-hmm. So as somebody who, like you said, you had to come back and you had to get away from that because it was sort of a, although it was a moving ministry, it was a church that was mobile in a sense. So in a sense, it was kind of like hurt inside of the church. As somebody who's seen a church grow as many times as you have and be planted, but you've also seen kind of the downfall to a church, people want to use, the church as an excuse or, sort of if they want to have an argument about how, well, people aren't who they're supposed to be, blah, 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 blah. So, all of that aside, as somebody who has seen these things happen, what piece of advice would you give somebody who maybe they are looking for a church, or maybe they've just left home church, maybe they're looking to find another church because maybe home church isn't your thing. We're not going to hate on you for that. As somebody who, like I said, has been a part of these, what's some advice that you would give people who have been hurt from churches, but what you have seen from the planting of churches?
So I'm not going to deny that church hurt is a very real and serious thing. And there are times when church hurt is like a very legit, emotionally damaging situation. I would say the majority of quote-unquote church hurt that people talk about is not that. It is church upset.
Yeah.
You know, like they made me mad or they hurt my feelings or, you know, that kind of stuff, which I'm not trying to unvalidate someone's feelings and their feelings getting hurt with it from leadership in a church. But there are, I have seen and experienced church trauma would be the better word for it, you know, where I have seen churches crumble because of corrupt people posing as Christians but being very corrupt behind the scenes. So I'd say first, prioritize. And if you are consistently and humbly always working on your relationship with God, you will see that the only perfect person that ever walked this earth was Jesus. And if you are involved in church, you get to see that your leaders are people and that we make mistakes all the time. And if you know that you are an imperfect person and that they are imperfect people, any kind of relationship you have in your life, there's going to be bumps in the road. And so the way that, number one, I've been able to stay committed to, because my heart is for the church and for our church to be healthy. And if you keep the lines of communication open and keep your heart open, even when you want to close it, it will always bring you back, you know. And even if you have to move on from a church because you've found corruption or someone's just hurt your feelings too bad and you just can't bring yourself, you know, to reconcile it, it doesn't mean that every church is that way or that you're going to get hurt in every church, but you are going to get your feelings hurt in every church. I mean, because we are people. And I guarantee you, I probably hurt someone's feelings sitting in this circle right now.
Yeah.
Because I am not only human, but I'm making decisions that nobody wants to make, you know, and I'm just making them and following the Holy Spirit, what I feel like He wants for our team or our church. But not everyone's going to like that decision, and it's going to hurt someone's feelings. And that happens. But my relationship with God needs to stay solid. And if that's solid, He'll lead you in the right direction, I feel.
Well, and another thing that I had trouble with for a while was the youth. You know, I remember being a kid, and I didn't like talking in front of people. Mm. So whenever I started this whole thing, I was like, so I'm going to try to make it as comfortable as possible. But then I began to realize that that's not how things work. They have to eventually understand that you don't get what you want all the time. You have to make a sacrifice. Right. So you have to make those calls that people, because there has to be order.
Yes.
There has to be order and direction. You can't just, okay, we're going to have this, which I know we do that with the podcast, but the thing about it is that's what this was designed for.
Right.
It's an open space, and we planned it that way. So the difficulty of being that person that says, hey, look, we can't just do whatever we want to. Like you said, not a lot of people want to make those calls and make those decisions. Fortunately enough for this church, God's blessed us with somebody bold enough that, hey, we have to keep direction. If you want God to work, we have to have order. We have to have, you can't just be lazy about things.
Right.
And so as somebody that has fallen in your lap, a lot of people want to talk about how we can not get our feelings, you know, how can I toughen up just a little bit and, you know, make my skin just a little bit tougher. But sometimes people just aren't cut out for that position. There's just a certain thing. So not a lot of people can do what you do and then understand the fact that there may be some people who are going to be upset about this.
So one thing you said, though, just to pause real quick, I am an assertive person, but I don't have tough skin. Everything hurts.
Okay.
All the time. But I have clear communication with my leadership and with my husband to have them be able to speak in my life and say, you know, it's a matter of not necessarily toughening your skin, but keeping your heart open.
And understanding.
And understanding that, like, so-and-so is blatantly disagreeing with me or disrespecting me intentionally or whatever. That's going to hurt anyone's feelings, you know. But noting that if I keep my heart open, I'm not only keeping, because, like, once you close your heart off, bitterness, you know, strife, you ruminate and make things something it isn't, you know. But if I keep my heart open, not only to God, but I'm also keeping my heart open to that person and realizing that they might be going through something where they lashed out at me. They might be feeling insecure. They might be whatever it is. It's not necessarily saying, well, I got to keep my I got to get a tough exterior so that they don't pierce it. It's literally the opposite.
Yeah.
It's being able and willing, and it's really, really hard, to consistently allow God to heal your heart, consistently allowing forgiveness. Like, a lot of people think that I can be people in my personal life that I, like my family, they get mad that I consistently let people back in my life who have hurt my feelings or whatever. But it's more like, how how many relationships I'd miss out on if every time someone hurt my feelings in leadership, I just turn my back on them. Like, I would be by myself in my house right now. I wouldn't be married to Tyler, that's for sure. So like, it's the exact opposite of that, I'd say. For me, and maybe other people would give different advice.
But no, that's the thing though. Like, if you don't say that, this is what's going through Dana's mind. So now people know, we know, Dana doesn't have tough skin. Dana understands what people are going through. Dana understands this. So next time that somebody gets, this idea in their head that she's pushy, she's this and this and this, and
who said
she's
that
got
too? No,
tough
I'm
skin.
I'm just kidding.
Brooklyn did.
Brooklyn.
But no, the next time, just the next time when somebody sees you going through something, they understand. Okay, so Dana's not just being cranky. It's not that Dana doesn't like me. Dana's got a lot of stuff. She's trying to process a lot of stuff in her mind, and that's what people don't, like you said. They assume one story and then they ride with it. But you can take a story and dissect it. What if they're this and this and this and this? And when you stop and you think about things like that, it's kind of like, oh, so maybe I'm the one being the jerk. And you're like, but I wasn't. But you can, okay, we're just going to let this God have the situation. Yeah. So, but when the church as itself, it's so cool to come in here and see everybody communicate and just get along the way that they do. And whenever you are seeing these churches being built, you're seeing, like you said, trauma in the church. What is it in the building up and the growing of a church? Home church says find purpose, community, Jesus. What is it through these budding and these growing of churches, and you can chime in too, Tyler, that you guys have noticed, man, this is just what it is, and this is what the church is missing out on. Like, you know what I'm saying? That you've seen the good and the bad. This is what churches I've seen prosper are doing, and this is what churches that are sort of sliding are doing.
I'd say everything rises and falls on leadership. And when a leadership, I'd say a really successful leadership in a church, the staff collectively have decided to stop making assumptions about the people that walk through the doors, and then that bleeds into the volunteers of the church, because like you're saying, people always make assumptions about me and who I am, and that comes from being in a place of leadership. Put yourself on stage, someone's going to have an opinion or an assumption about who you are. But for me as a leader, I have learned I've been in ministry for over 20 years, right? So in that time, I have been so wrong about people, and thinking that they think one way about me or feel one way about me or feel one way about someone I love or whatever. Come to realize with one coffee date, they're absolutely not who I would have expected them to be. Someone who walks in the door may look, smell, be someone you don't. The first impression of people is almost always wrong. No matter what they say, like you could read a book by its cover, blah, blah, blah. There's a novel you haven't read yet, And so my very first thing would say, the successful churches that I've seen, the leadership is humble, and their heart is to serve, as I spit, and is to, they've decided and refused to make assumptions about people and where they are in their lives and who they are. Because you can even make an assumption in a way where you think someone is further along in their walk with the Lord, and throw them into a leadership position only to have them fail because they weren't where you thought they should have been, or where they thought they should have been, or where God would have them be, or whatever. So like, you have to always stop making assumptions and love people for who they are and where they are and go from there. And I'd say that's where churches succeed, and I think that's where home church succeeds, the value of community, because if that bleeds into the congregation and we stop making assumptions about the people sitting next to us and just decide to accept and love people again, for who they are on this journey, and start there and go forward, the community like ours loves each other and is very strong, you know. And everyone says that about home church, that our community is different from anywhere else they've been.
Yeah.
That would be number one for me. What do you think?
I think my mind naturally goes towards just, I think, as far as building up a church, you know, organization, processes.
Yes,
I think
that
that's
too.
always super important. Just making sure, even if you're a tiny team, you know, treat it big. You know, go all out, have organization, have big processes, you know, because that's going to help you grow. It's going to help you, you know, look serious, you know, look stable. Like
Yep.
when someone comes in and that's why, you know, a lot of times, you know, people will look at a service and the organization of the service, and, you know, even us, it's like, okay, countdown, worship, you know, we go into different things. It's like, well, why don't we leave room for like different things, and why don't we go by the seat of our pants and do it differently each time? And that can be good, but also it's like we need to be, you know, we need to like stay organized, because, you know, people will trust that, you know, they'll feel
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
There's a comfortability and all that, you know, that I think helps when you're looking to build a church.
And one thing that I liked about JB, and this is going to sound silly, but I was really watching heavily videos of Kobe Bryant, because I had talked on made the sermon about how, you know, bold David was, and I was asking for boldness. And so I was watching these videos of Kobe Bryant, and he was just talking about practice. And he was like, if you just do something and do it so with the purpose in mind of, I am doing this and nobody wants to do it, but I'm going to do it because it's going to benefit the better of it. And I remember JB on practices on Tuesday. Used to, I didn't turn the cameras on because I was like, we're not recording anything. So I'm just doing slides for you guys. And I come in, and JB always had the cameras on. So I asked him, I was like, what do you do? And he goes, I just want to roll everything like it's a Sunday, so that way whenever Sunday's here. And I got to thinking about that, and I was like, it's the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You know, JB's in the mindset of, I understand this, we're not using these cameras to record anything, but we need to make sure that they're angled where they're supposed to be. Everything is on top of its game. So although it's not a necessity, like you said, you know, it's habitually staying on top of it, showing that you're not going to lay down that time that can be devoted to bettering yourself in
Yeah,
it. So,
excellence breeds excellence,
Yeah.
for sure.
but so we talked about the church and, you know, all of the building and the stuff like that. We go to Missouri. Your friend makes a comment about she's got this cute guy.
A year prior to me moving.
He's absolutely gorgeous.
You got that majestic beard.
Majestic
He
beard.
didn't at
Not
the
at the
time.
time.
Yeah.
Did he have majestic hair at the time?
I made him shave his head, actually. He was trying still.
Yeah, I think right when we first met, I was still trying to hang on to it,
Yeah.
do weird things, and
Yeah.
and then
And I was like, you know what would really help you?
Yeah.
When you take off that hat, to have a really nice bald head.
Yeah, I think I was trying to do the whole like bald man's like 2-guard, you know, buzz sort of
Yeah.
thing. So I had like the little dink dink dink
Yes.
sticking
Yes,
up,
he
you know,
did.
The
everywhere.
little baby feathers, bird
Yes,
feathers.
he did, yes.
And like I remember too, I had a little baby beard, like it was essentially just scruff. And
It was
I had it all
he
like
had a good
lined
looking-
out really weird, and you know, I just needed
Did you ever do the chin
needed some
strap?
guidance.
You ever do
Never
that?
did that. No.
Oh, I
Another
don't
thing
miss
he
those
was
days
doing
at
though
all.
is he was
No, that's
shaving his
what-
beard right here to the tip of his chin, so like his whole neck
the
was bare, and I
neckline
was
is
like, you
way
gotta
too high.
stop, you gotta let that
Super,
manhood
it was awkward.
happen down here.
Yeah, I had no, I didn't have guidance. So.
He was lucky to have met me. Is all.
That's true. That's very true. Very true.
So you come back into Missouri. What is it? How are you getting your roots back into ministry here in Missouri? After all of that, you come back. You're 29. Let's start there.
So 28. We got married when I was 29. So
Okay.
I was 28, and then okay, so I moved back here, and we were helping with a very small church, smaller than this, that they were trying to build and plant called Common Ground, and or Grounds. I can't remember if it had
Home
an
ground.
Common Ground. Yeah, and it was over on the north side, and it was It was, I don't know how to explain it. It was, the community was great. We were consistently meeting, all those kind of things. I just feel like a lot of the leadership at the time there was, I guess it was a stage, you know what I mean, where you have moments in your life where this is happening for now, but it's a stepping stone to something else. I'd say that's what Common Ground was for everyone involved, because everyone knew they wanted to be involved in something, but it was a small dream that didn't have like branches to go anywhere. So I came back and went to college and did like my gen eds and was going to go to like through nursing school, because I knew I wanted to help people, but I didn't know if ministry was the opportunity for me at that point forward. And so basically I started doing all of that and started working at the hospital as a patient sitter. So I sat with people who were like older people who may have dementia, younger people, or drug addicts who had to have a watch on them all the time. Yeah, suicide watches, those kind of things. And it was a very hard job. I know it doesn't sound like it is because you're literally just sitting there, but it is a stressful job because
Well, you make bonds with them.
Yes, and I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard of the term sundowners, but people with like Alzheimer's or dementia, they get very violent and scary when the sun goes down. And so it can be like, and I worked that shift. I worked the 3 to 11 or something like that. And so most of my patients were difficult. And anyway, so while I was there and going through school, an opportunity to be a patient advocate came up, and I applied for it. I applied for it and didn't get it. And then they actually contacted me and said another position was opening, that they liked my interview, but someone else had just beat me out. And then said, do you want to apply again? And I was like, absolutely. And I got it. So I was actually at the hospital. He worked at the hospital too. And that was our dating and part of our first year of marriage. I had worked there for 4.5 years, I'd say. So as a patient advocate, and basically my role there was to I had my own floors, like the maternity floor and some med-surg floors and stuff, and I would go room to room and let them know that I was there for them and make sure their visit was going well. It was basically a glorified, like, making sure that people felt like their needs were being met, and that if they had a concern about anything that was happening on the floor, I was there to address it and would work through it with staff and stuff like that. So it was a really great role for me. I learned a lot about, I'd say there is where I learned not to be afraid of confrontation, that communication in any form is positive. Even if someone's mad, you're still getting to the root of something, and I'm not intimidated by mad people anymore, or because I've had people screaming in my face, and it's just like, if you can not be offended, and if you could hear past the pain or the anger, because they're scared, they're all scared. They're all in a very vulnerable place in their lives. No one wants to be in the hospital. No one wants a loved one to be in the hospital. So, tempers are up, voices are loud, and it's the same. I brought that into my ministry to know that if someone's angry, church is a very vulnerable place, and so if you can look past someone's anger and see through to the issue, I mean, it taught me, I'd say it was a very, very valuable time in my life to learn a lot about people and why people act the way they act, and work through processes with them to get it resolved. So it was a very good job for me. And then the only reason I left that job was because we couldn't afford daycare with 2 small kids. And it was easier to have one person at a job than 2, and my whole paycheck going to childcare. So that's why I resigned there. But I went off on a tangent. Sorry.
No, you're fine. That was kind of the whole, I guess, hitting home point. And like the other thing that I was going to say is the first job that you had, like that just doesn't sound, I mean, like me, like we said before, people are cut different. Mm-hmm. I mean, talking to people who have dementia, first of all, they don't really know who their family is.
Right.
So the likelihood of them remembering you, what's that like? No,
they would never, from hour to hour. Some of them are caught in a time loop, and but it was beautiful too. It's so devastating and sad, but I was also there for their family members. So, a lot of men, a lot of men who get it, they're everyone who gets it, their whole personality changes, and a lot of them become mean and violent, and they don't know why this happens. But some of the wives who had the most caring, loving husbands, their husbands got dementia, and their husbands were hitting them and stuff, and having to like talk through them getting the care that they needed as well. And but like some of them would tell you the same story on a loop, something that their memory was caught on, and just like being able to be patient with them and say, oh, you mean Georgia? And then if you can catch on to parts of the story, they feel more comfortable thinking you know them, or then they think you're the government and they want to murder you. They think you're a spy, or, it's like,
Yeah.
but it taught me a lot about patience,
Yeah.
and about being able to be there for somebody else.
And so was that something that, like, were you kind of just like in a position of I need a job, so you took it, or you were like,
To be
how
a
did that
nurse, they
come
want you to
about?
have experience in the hospital.
Okay.
And it was the one I felt most qualified. I didn't really want to sit like at a desk right away, and I wanted experience with patients.
Yeah.
And I got to help a lot, and especially like I'd be seated in the ICU, like there was a lot of teen overdoses, and some of them, it's just so devastating, and so it's all hands on deck sometimes when someone's in a critical situation. And even though I didn't have nursing experiences, I could hold a tube, or something. So like I got a lot of visual experience as to what nurses would do. Nursing, I realized through having a job in the hospital that I didn't necessarily want to be a nurse. I wanted a different role, but because that's why the patient advocate role was so perfect for me, because I was so much more hands on with their care, the emotional care, not necessarily the physical care. So.
So as you said that you have the kids now, it was cheaper for you to do the in-home daycare. So we're going to travel a little bit further on down the road. You have kids now. Have you always had the business that you have now?
No. So, from that point on, that opened up the opportunity for Mike and Amanda Carlton from Bloom Church to reach out to us and ask if we wanted to help them plant. And because I didn't have a full-time job, I was able to step in and help them with a lot of things that I could do throughout the day that a lot of people with full-time jobs couldn't do. And so that's kind of how we got our feet back into full-time type ministry there. And we did. I mean, when you're like 5 people planning a church, it started off with like 5 or 7 people or something like that in a room and house. And now their church is, successful in Branson. And so we had our hands literally in everything, from setting up and tearing down every Sunday to I helped in the nursery, to worship team, to all the things. So
Their youth.
we got I was a youth pastor there. I forgot about that. Yeah, I did. I was a youth pastor there for a couple of years. So yeah, that went into that area of our lives. And so from that, oh gosh, I've had so many jobs. But anyway, fast forward to me knowing that I actually wanted to devote my entire life and make an income being able to serve God. I started reaching out to people who I knew and trusted that might need someone to come on as staff at a church, right? And receive a salary for that. And so I knew Rick Cochran from Venture Church. I knew him from my Master's Commission days, because at that point he was a Master's Commission director at a different Master's than mine. And our teams had like connected at certain points. So I knew him and Nicole pretty well, and I reached out to him, and he immediately said, I will make a job for you. And so the only job that he had, so I would have ministry opportunity, but the only like paid position he had was at the mansion at Elfindale, which is a bed and breakfast attached to their church. The church owned it and everything. And he needed someone to take care of the marketing for that. And so when I was in Master's Commission, I did a lot of recruiting and marketing for them. So I had my toes dipped in the water, but I wouldn't say I was fully immersed in knowing how to do that. And I was very honest with him about that, and he was like, I feel like you have enough experience to be able to do what I'm needing you to do. And so I dove head first into the marketing for Mansion at Elfindale, and I got them up to the 20th century and got them online. And I mean, I learned everything I could at the time, took classes and webinars and all of the talk to anyone who met with marketing people, and did all the things I knew to do to be good at that job. And as I was doing that job, people who would come through and stay at the mansion or worked at the church would ask my opinion, since they knew I was immersed in it, for their small businesses. Like, what would you do if you were me? Or how would you do this or that or the other? And so it started being more of like, I started consulting with small businesses a lot at the mansion, which of course Rick approved of. He did not care. And and from that started getting like these little side clients that I was helping out with, or like people that I was like coaching on a weekly basis or whatever. And then just fast forward to more recently, a couple of years ago, I just had enough business to be able to branch out on my own and do it full time. So again, it was a God thing, you know, especially when venture kind of had the splitting. It was like I had gained this, you know, and I loved doing it. I didn't realize I was going to love doing it, but I mean, it brought me so much joy to be able to help people this way. And I had a knack for it, like building websites, and, you know, I had an eye for media, and I don't do photography, but I have an eye for photography. I can tell you what's a good picture, you know. But so it was just absolutely literally an accident, but a very, very good one, you know. I'd say it's all God, really.
Yeah.
So, for not to just plug your own business, you know, and self all you, but that sounded really, really bad. It sounded way better in my head. But what all do you do through your small business, so that way you can, you know, kind of plug it without sounding too jaded, I guess?
No. So, okay, so the main role that I do is I have several businesses where I just do their social media online. So, like, you know, just posting for the business as a business, marketing that way, you know, making sure that they have just consistent advertisement going out, you know, about their business. And but I also build websites for small businesses, and which I really love doing. And I can do graphics, logos. I've done several logos for small businesses, and I don't know. I more just like to be available for people who need help, but they're a small business and are or just starting and can't necessarily afford a huge marketing company to help them. And a lot of times they get bigger and they may need to move on to a larger marketing company, but I've just kind of been the stepping stone, which I'm totally 100% good with. So, yeah, little stuff. I mean, I don't know if that covers everything I've done, but... Oh, I also do social media coaching for, like, people who are wanting to be influencers and things like that. I kind of keep my head in the market for people what the trends are, and I can coach people who are, they are their business, you know, like a hairstylist, or if they sell makeup, or, you know, things like that. I can say, like, here's what you should be doing for your business, here's what you shouldn't. But I can't necessarily do their business for them because their business is their face, you know. So I do coaching like that too.
So I mean, in a sense, like, that's kind of where a theatrical play a part in that, right? You're helping them sort of create their brand,
and not be awkward or weird or
And so that also comes out whenever you're helping people on stage, like, you know, here in worship. That's one of the good things. Like, I know whenever we're back here practicing, you do a very good job, and I know it's obviously different explaining what keys or whatever, you know, to have somebody sing in, but still knowing the timing and everything of when things should be where they should be. I think that's another thing that also helps just our worship be as impactful as it is too. Is there's that effort. It's not just we've got to do worship, so here it is. It's God, this worship's for you, and we want to make sure that it is up to our best effort that we can put out for you. And then whenever we do that, you use that however you want to. But we're going to give all of our stuff. So you're still kind of in that department, you know, of the, I wouldn't say show business, but it is the, you know, the lights, camera, action, here we go, it's go time. So I know, Tyler, you're more of kind of not jokingly set towards the back, you know, by the drums. You being a person that's up front, you know, whether it's a spiritual moment, an offering, whether it's welcoming guests in and stuff like that, it's always inviting and it's always exciting feeling to it but at the same time comforting. So for you, whenever doing the spiritual moments or doing the prayer up on stage and stuff like that, for those that, don't really, may not understand how, whenever it comes to these things and it comes to letting the Lord work, a lot of us want to, how do we make this group of people happy and this group of people happy? You said you do a very good job of knowing what a person's circumstance is. So whenever it comes to like set list and music and stuff, are you more listening? Is the Lord guiding you in your choices of music and stuff? Or is this something that you strategically have? Clayton's preaching on this, so we kind of want our worship to be around this. How does that exactly work?
So as far as I'm not afraid of the word performance. I know that is something that people get really weirded out about, but the way I see it is, so when we're up there, we're not like performing like it's a play, but we are giving a gift to God.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's a difference between like going to Walmart and you're going to a birthday party, you're going to Walmart and you are, because love is in the details. So I'm going to go to Walmart. I'm going to pick up this gift for this person that I'm going to their birthday party. So am I going to Walmart, grabbing, I think they like that, grab it off the shelf, and then putting it in a Walmart sack and taking it to them and handing it to them like that with the receipt still inside. There's no wrapping, there's no nothing, just like, here you go. Are they going to feel most loved by that, or are they going to feel most loved by me preparing in advance, knowing and figuring out what they love and buying them the perfect gift and wrapping up that gift in the prettiest bow I could find and then presenting them to them in this beautiful way, in a way that I know they would love? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not performance to put love into the details, And so...
But that's the thing, that people need to understand whenever it comes to worship. You're not just up there saying, okay, we're going to look at the top 5 Christian hit charts, and this is what we're plucking from. Because I think people
are consistently listening to music,
Yep.
and if it has ministered to us, we hope it'll minister to them. Is it going to minister to everybody? It's absolutely not, because I say on a consistent basis I have someone asking for a hymn, know. So like... Hymns don't necessarily, I love hymns, and there's a time and place, absolutely, still to this day for hymns. But does that mean every single Sunday I'm going to do a hymn? I'm not. So like, it has to minister to me too, because I have to display it. So, yeah, but we do, we are always listening, and we're getting ministered to ourselves. So if it's ministered to us as a team, as a leadership team, we feel like it has potential to minister to us, and those are the songs that we choose.
Yeah, but that's the thing, I think everybody just thinks that you guys are opening up a book and you're saying, okay, well, these are on Apple Music, these are the top songs this week, and that's not the case. That's the importance of planning ahead of time. You're planning, you're getting a feel for, you're not just throwing on a Toby Mac song from 10 years ago and thinking, oh, well, this was cool back then, so we're just going to roll with it now. There's purpose, there's meaning behind what you guys are doing, and that's important. And the things, that's another one of those things that's not seen on Sundays. It is to us because we see the printout of the order of things, the song, who's lead, who's this, who's breaking this down into this. We're coming back up after this song. Clayton, hey, we're not doing a song today. I just want Leonard to come up and play the piano. But if Clayton were up there and he just pulled those out of the hat in the middle of service, Leonard's going to get, man, what's going on? You keep can I know this before so I know what to do? Yeah. So you can't just throw things off of the cusp. Right. And there are times when Clayton's up there and the Spirit does move. There is always room for the Spirit to move. So I want to make that clear too, is I'm not saying that Clayton's doing foolish stuff by whenever he says the Spirit's move. But there does need to be an order. And hey, if we go off of this, Clayton's always good about, and if I'm feeling it in the Spirit, then I'll tell you this. If not, then this. That's planning. That's being prepared. Right. So we're always prepared for the Spirit. God can take over whenever He wants to. We're just here. So that was just one of the things that I wanted to convey. We're not trying to say, hey, if you're going off key, get on out of here, because it's not God. No, but it is important to have that game plan. So game plans. Easter, we've seen 2 Easters now that have been extravagant. For you, whenever it comes to an Easter, whether it's Easter, whether it's Sunday, I've heard you pray it before, we're giving it all. Yes, Easter is a little bit more special, But like Winfield said whenever he was speaking, he is risen. It didn't just happen on that Easter day, and we should praise it we should praise it every day.
Right.
So for you, whenever it comes to a performance, and it comes to the house being packed, we've seen this house packed. We've also seen you guys perform where there's been a bunch of people out of town. It's summer, and there's only 10 people here. Regardless, you guys are giving your all.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that people need to understand, whether you are trying to reach a family member or there's like, oh man, I've got 3 people in my family, I really want them to come to God, and they give it their all and they feel like they're just not receiving the fruits from that labor. Somebody who puts in that time and work, and you're like, man, this is going to be a good set. You see 10 people, and we've talked about Clayton, preparing a message. There's been messages where he's just said, God, I'm going to let you do what you do, and those have been the best messages ever. So for you, whenever it comes to performing, I have to imagine that worship, there are eyes on you. Obviously, your mindset is this is for God.
Yep.
So from you guys been in this for a hot minute now. Like you said, you've been in ministry for 20 years. What are some things that to you at first bothered you, but then you realized it was just the enemy attacking you when it comes to worship?
Mm-hmm. So one thing is, I would say this has taken me a really long time to realize, because I care about people very, very much. And so right now, I can genuinely say the heart of our team and everybody up there is that we are doing this for an audience of one, and that is Jesus. And so the reason why we can go full on when there's 10 people in the crowd is because it is not for them. Worship is not about us. It is for us to direct our hearts to the Lord. So it's our gift to God. It's like I've said from the pulpit, it's the one thing that we can give to God that he hasn't first given to us. And so we do this for an audience of one. So the reason why I'd say I've known that for a long time, and I swear, I feel like that was where my heart was directed. But like, I have done ministry, and I have sang in front of thousands, and I've sang in front of, 2 in a tiny little circle with an acoustic guitar. So like, it's not about, for me, it's like, I realize that if one person in the crowd has a heart change, or if one person is blessed and that day they were worried and they came in and lifted their hands and they left with a load off of their shoulders, that matters to God. Because I've worked for James River, which was a great experience for me, and they have thousands and thousands of people in the audience, right? It's a blessing to go and see thousands of people worshiping God and hundreds of people getting saved, but it's just as big a blessing for me to see one person saved, to see one person, It's like, when you've been in it as long as I have, you realize what really, really does matter, and that is one person matters to God. One person. Even if it's just us up there during practice, we get blessed. Yep. You've seen it, and people leave practice with loads that have been very heavy off their shoulders, so like, that matters. Every bit of it matters to me, from scheduling to practice to all the things. Every detail matters to me. So that's how we can put in all the effort for 10 people being in the crowd, because those 10 people are very important to us, and we get nervous in front of them. That's how much they matter to us, so.
Right.
I don't know if I answered your question.
No,
right.
that answers it perfectly. And like, just to piggyback off of that, you talked about, whenever you speak on the pulpit, for me, whenever it's youth, and then it's the crowd, and then there's the Wednesday night crowd and the Sunday morning service, and you begin to think that after you've grown comfortable around these people, that speaking wouldn't bother you. But the initial kicking off of the event is difficult sometimes.
I'm always nervous every single time.
And then you can kind of, you step in the water and you get nice and comfortable, and you can kind of float in that way. The importance of our family to us, you made that comment, how important it is to just the 10 that are here, even if it is just those 10. The fact that there are so many different people from so many, whether it was Venture, but to hear their stories about how it wasn't just one church at one, you know what I mean? It was people from here, and here. So whenever you made the comment you've James River, you've started churches that had 5 people in it. So you've seen sort of home church whenever we had the 45, and then you guys have seen it whenever it's all full except the first 4 rows because
nobody sits there.
Nobody sits there. But so to see that here, and then all obviously out there, and then James River, the crowd size doesn't matter because it's about one man. To go on with the whole worship idea and this whole worship area that we're in right now, for you, whenever you're worshiping on stage, obviously you're worried about the crowd. Not worried, but you're obviously mindful of the crowd as well. For somebody who we continuously see, you guys had a week off, much deserved, but for the most part, you're here. When is your best worship time? Because I know for me, you're probably not going to see me raise my hand a whole lot because I just kind of zone out and I focus on God and my head's down. And for you, it must be difficult on stage to be mindful of the crowd at the same time, thankful, praising God and all of that kind of stuff. What are things, just so people can get an idea, and knowing that you are human, what's going on in your mind on the stage? Not practice, I'm talking Sunday, and I don't care what the size crowd is. Whenever you're in that moment of worship, what is going through your mind? Because I know it's going to bounce back and forth, obviously. But what are some things that are going through your mind that is helping you maintain focus on the Lord? Because I know it's going to be difficult to try. It's like we can bow our head and we can pray, and that's one thing. You're trying to maintain a movement and sort of a mood and continue while also trying to worship, while also serving at the same time. So to me, that seems extremely difficult to stay in that moment, but I know it can be done. I know God is that what goes through your mind on stage, I guess.
So I'm not going to be dishonest and say that there are times when I lose focus on God and it gets put into the details of things. I try very hard, we try very hard to have everything in such a way that when we do start and 30-second countdown and we start, that we've done all we can do. So we might as well just give our hearts and let go. We do try that. That doesn't mean that we can't tell if something's going wrong and our focus gets pulled back, because as a worship leader, I'm not necessarily just there for me. I'm there to give you permission in the crowd to follow me to where I'm going. So it's not only important for me to go there, but also make sure that I'm showing you that you have the permission to let go and let God, And so yes, my focus is on the crowd at times because I'm watching them. I'm seeing if they're experiencing, the same move of the Holy Spirit that I am. And if like, for instance, we're singing a song and it's like dead faces and it's not ministering to them, they're not receiving. I can worship to any song, don't get me wrong, but like some people can't, you know, and sometimes they feel weird about the lyrics or about it being too techno or whatever. And it's important for me to see that and to be like, we're probably not going to do that song anymore, because collectively as a church, we want it to be a sweet sound unto the Lord. And if someone's like, this is not a sweet sound, then we need to take that into consideration. So 100%, it is a skill you learn to be caring about the way that God feels about it, and by, you can divide your heart and your mind at times. And I think people may not believe that to be true, but right now while we're talking, I can feel the Holy Spirit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So my mind's focused on you and this task, but also I can feel the Holy Spirit moving in it, so that's kind of how I would describe it up there, to say the Holy Spirit's moving right now. We need to be okay with that and let it go, but also see that maybe the crowd isn't tuned in, so I need to figure out how to bring them with us, so.
Well, it's important to know too, that just because us as a leadership group, us, Mandy, Leo, as a leadership group who do take an account of the songs we choose and if we play them up here, it means they've connected with us in such a way that we want to then share them to the
Yeah.
church. But and a lot of those are big, popular songs off the latest, Elevation album or something. But
they're good songs.
Right.
But they're good.
Yeah. songs,
But my
yeah.
point is you didn't go searching for those off
To
of
be popular.
To be
Right.
popular,
Right.
you did it because you felt a
We
movement.
do feel a connection with them, absolutely. So we want to bring those to the church, but we also have to realize that we are our own team. We're not Elevation Church. This is not Elevation. We don't have those players. We don't have that team. This is us and our
May not
team.
have their talent.
So it's
Yeah.
going to give off a much different feel than
Yeah.
you listening to that in your car. And I feel like so many leaders just get dead set on wanting to play like their song that's touching them right now in their life and wanting to play that, but that doesn't necessarily mean like our team is going to give off that same vibe and feeling to the congregation. It's not meaning the congregation is going to accept that song.
Right.
So I think, like you said, people, dead face, just like they're not in tune with anything we're doing right now. It's like there's a disconnect between worship team and the congregation. We do keep that in mind and know next time this is probably isn't a song we're going to do again, because it is important, even if it's a big mega song that we fall to our knees and worship at home about. It does not mean that our team is going to give the congregation that same sort of experience. So, I feel it's very important to be in tune with our church as a whole and to know like what brings them to the throne room, like what is bringing the people of this church into a worship experience that allows them and gives them, like you said, permission to kind of follow us
Yeah.
there. We need to know what works and what doesn't, I guess, essentially is what it's all about.
Yeah.
So has there been one song that just speaks to you guys that you don't get to play here that often? Or
There's several.
just like something they're like, yeah, that's it, that slaps, or something that...
So I know
would-
Leo's
Real Slim
answer,
Shady.
like
Yeah, it's the real
Leo's
Slim
answer
Shady
would be
answer.
like gospel, because like
Yeah.
Leo, his heart is gospel. He
Absolutely.
listens. I am not talented enough to sing gospel music. Like these people are on a whole other level than the
that's a
talent
perfect
that I have.
example.
So like Leo has to take that upon himself to listen to that and get filled in his own way through that type of music, because that's his heart. For me, I'd say like the way that like I really get ministered to is more on a Wednesday night type vibe, where it's like lots of flowy, lots of singing in the spirit, or but I'm also not talented at doing that. I like you hand me the paper and I'm gonna do a checklist off the paper,
Yeah.
But like Becca's really good at that. So it's like for me, even like old school songs that people are just absolutely sick of, like what's that song that says like it's your breath in my lungs, I pour out my praise.
Get your breath.
I can't remember what it's called, but that song is like my heart to God. And so, but everyone in the congregation is so over that song that it got sung way too much here, and they're like, I don't ever want to hear that song again, but I could listen to it every day of my life,
Yep.
So we just have to make sure that we're, if like, but I do, every one of the songs we're doing right now is, oh my gosh, that song Gratitude
Yeah.
that we're doing by, what's his name?
Brandon.
Brendan
Brendan
Lake,
Lake.
yeah. Oh, that is my heart. So there maybe I can worship to pretty much anything, because I can get down to some gospel music. I just can't do gospel
Yeah.
music,
Well, and that's where I was kind of coming from. It's like there's some songs that we would really connect to that it's just you have to know and be honest about your team.
Yeah.
It's like, are we the type of team with the people who can really pull off these songs? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
or if
do
we need to
have-
simplify it to
Right.
make it more us. Or,
And is that simplified version going to be the same? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It's like
gonna
you just have
minister
to.
the same.
There's a ton to it that you just
There's
have
a
to
lot
be
of-
open and honest with yourself about.
Absolutely. And there's a lot that goes into this stuff that people would never even think, because they just want to get up and sing a song on a microphone, And like, sure, that would be great for you and you would get something out of it. But like, this isn't for you to be able to, sing a song on a microphone. This is about our congregation being led in the Spirit. And it is also not about you being heard. It's about us giving a gift to the Lord, So like, I think people a lot of times may get their feelings hurt because, say, they don't have like a position on the worship team that they may want or whatever. But for us as a team, we have so many other factors to consider, and it's a big job that we take very seriously. And so we may have to hurt people's feelings in the short term, but we're not harming them in the long run,
Oh, yeah. I've been to the old Baptist churches where Nana Linda was up there and she couldn't sing a lick, and they were praising and worshiping him. And I'm a kid, and I'm like, get her off. Like, she's
you don't want a distraction.
Yes, and it's like, her heart's there, and I love it. And it's, Nana, I love you, sweetheart, but you're going to have to sit down because that's not your thing.
Right.
Me. No, honey, please don't.
You got to, people just don't, they've never been told, like, that's one thing that really irks me sometimes, where it's like, why am I the one to have to tell you you can't sing? Why has no one your whole life ever told you couldn't sing? That this wasn't where your giftings lie,
Yeah,
the responsibility is big. It's hard.
And here's the thing, and not to dive in.
Why has no one... No, I'm just kidding.
Plenty of people told me I can't sing.
You have good people in your life. No, I'm just kidding. I've never heard you sing. I'm just kidding.
But it's I can't talk. It's terrible. It's terrible.
But
it's still a sweet sound to the Lord.
Yeah, facts.
Just not
Very
from
true.
the microphone.
Very true.
100%.
And a lot of that stems from, like, and I hate to be like going to the political side of it, but telling you can be whatever you want to be. You can't be whatever you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
You can be what God created you to be. So that's a point too. Is like, yeah, you may not be able to sing. God didn't call you to sing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not. God wasn't intending you to be a singer. Zach, you want to go start a band quartet? We're going to be broke in a matter of time.
Right.
If I quit today to be a vocal singer. No, you can't be whatever you want to be. Whatever you're called to be, you can be, and to the best of its capability. So a lot of what people don't understand about you is that's another, either a burden or a blessing, is being able to say to somebody, this isn't for you, but hey, you're going to prosper here.
Right.
That's another thing. Like, that's another side of it, too, that... Yeah, it may hurt your feelings at first because, man, I really wanted to be a singer. Right. But the thing is if you can't sing and you can't prosper at being a singer, why would you want to pull God through that? Because
that's
you're
when
not
you need
going
to check your heart and
why
are you
really
wanting this?
Yeah.
Is it for you? Is it because you can say that you're a singer? Is it because you can say that you're serving in multiple positions? Or is it really because you want to sing, that type of thing? Right. So, I know that it is 1 o'clock. I know that we have been going long, and there are probably some impatient children. So we will start bringing this to a close. Mm-hmm. But it is very important for people to understand that it's not easy for somebody in a leadership position to say, this may not be for you, this is for you, this and this and this. Whenever it comes to song selections, it's not something that they just pick dice and roll, and then they pick songs out of a hat that way. There is planning, there is procedure. The worship isn't just something that's thrown together and we're like, yeah, God, do something with this.
Right.
It is design. It is, obviously as somebody who is designing, doing the web design and stuff, organization, looking and being the part is something that's important to you. So we talked about things, how when it came to the design, that's something that you really enjoy. Mm-hmm. So we asked Tyler, what if he had to describe himself, and maybe that, people in the church may see you one way, but you just like, hey, really, this is my thing, so here it is. How would you describe yourself? And maybe give some things that people, some opinions that they may have or don't, or just,
I think a lot of people, and I say a lot of people because it happens very consistently. One way that people describe me is like intimidating, and that well, I was really intimidated by you. You just looked, no nonsense, da da da. I think that people don't realize that I'm shy. I know I can be extroverted because it's my job to be that way, but I just do everything scared, So I just because I'm doing it does not mean I'm not terrified. I am terrified. I'm scared to have the conversation. I just care about people enough to have the conversations, And so I'm not intimidating. I'm shy. I'm scared to talk to you. So yes, I can talk from the pulpit, but I have planned that, and of course the Holy Spirit helps me, but I love people. And it's just that if it's I'm not unapproachable, I'm just scared to approach you. So that is one thing I would say that people would never think about me that is very true, that I am very shy. So I can be extroverted, but at heart, I'm more of an introvert. I am an assertive person, and I like processes. And like I said, I care about people enough to do the hard things and do the confrontations. And I'm not intimidated by confrontation because I know that there's always going to be a good outcome on the other side of it, because that's my heart. I'm not going to just get in a fight with someone. The confrontation is for an end goal to, bring a resolution. But things I love, of course, I love. Most everything I do, though, like even with my business, is for a heart for people. And like my heart for, I want to see people be successful, whether that's with their walk with God or in their small businesses. And I'm not intimidated by other people's success. Even if someone is doing the same thing I'm going to do everything I can to help them learn to grow in that area, because what God's given me, He's going to give me. I'm not I will tell you how I do my hair. I will tell you what weird clothes I buy. I will never be jealous. I mean that's not true. Everyone gets jealous sometimes, but you know what I mean. I'm never gonna let myself stand in the way of someone else's heart of success. So most everything I do is because it's for my first love is just people, But I love Marvel. We love Marvel. I'll talk every kind of DC or Marvel thing with you till it's dead. I will talk it to the ground.
We need to get her on the man cave.
If you want any Marvel talk, we are your people. We love Marvel and DC. So
we need to get you guys and Brett and do a man cave.
And Brett, yeah, I know, and yes, but never ask Corinne, because me and her got in a fight on the women's retreat. She was making fun, and we were yelling at each other because I was like, "You stop talking about my people." But yeah, so we are Marvel. I'm a nerd. I'm a big fat nerd at heart, and I was very much a nerd growing up. And bullied very heavily, physically and emotionally in school, because I was such a nerd, and I've just always have been, and I'm a theater buff, and I don't know. I love my family and my doggies and my husband.
Sometimes.
And most of the time.
Everything in moderation.
Yeah. The doggies can get a little overwhelming at times, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's that. I love good food and good friends.
So is there, as we're landing this plane, is there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about that we haven't gotten to yet? I mean, I know we've done a 2-part series here today. So.
No, not that I can think of.
No. We've touched
I feel like I've talked too much, to be honest.
And then what's next for you guys? What's next for the Morton?
That's something that's funny, because I even said it at the women's thing where, there is this heart to constantly be like, what's next? But I feel like we are okay, I'm speaking for you, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
We are in a status of enjoying the maintain and waiting for God to speak if there is. Obviously, God's always moving forward, and we will move forward with Him. But just stopping it to enjoy life for a little bit, and know that I've always wanted to have the worship pastor position. I've had it in college, but at a stable church, or whatever. I haven't actually I've been in a lot of support roles, but as the main person, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying my business. I'm enjoying my kids in the stage that they are in life. We're enjoying just relaxing in our place that we live in, and just it's actually a hard place to be. Because, you're not, looking forward to something next. You're waiting for God to speak to you, but we're in a maintain right now and enjoying the maintain, I'd say.
You definitely have to be comfortable with, what's the word? Happy in the now?
Yeah.
No, what is it?
Present.
Huh?
Content?
Yes,
content. That's a good word.
Just celebrating that
Trying
right
to be
now.
content, yeah.
It's very important, so.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, we're going to go ahead.
One more, man.
Uh-oh.
Don't want to cut you off.
Uh-oh.
A couple of weeks ago, you asked Jacob if there was something we could be praying for him about. So I like that you brought that up, and we need to do that more. But is there anything that we could be praying for you guys for?
I think just that in our life right now, with that we continue to be content, because we live in a pretty small place, which we're fine with, we're content with, but, sometimes that can be, we struggle with
Wanting more.
wanting more room, whether it be, can be a source of frustration. So even though we're celebrating being content right now, also that's, worth a prayer for sure.
Yeah, maintaining is a very, like, think about losing weight. Like I told at the women's thing, like you meet a goal and you're like really excited, but like you don't realize that there's a certain morning that comes with not consistently meeting goals and getting that high of like achieving. And so, of course, we get to feel successful in a successful ministry here, but like also there's not like goals to reach where you're getting that like, ooh, I lost a pound, or whatever, And so it can be hard to not like try to figure out how to get that from outside world, but also, we are still healing we are just now healing from things that have happened several years ago. And I think that's because we're in this place of like rest and contentment and maintaining. But like we've had a lot of hits throughout the years.
Well, we've always almost gotten used to just ever change
and
new things,
taking the hit,
new
taking
places,
the hit.
new jobs, new houses, new city. We've gotten used to that for so long that
we don't know how to relax sometimes. And so now that we are, and healing can be hard and it hurts too, so like just like I was saying Wednesday night, like getting to know who Dana is right now and understanding that like this is who I am and I'm not going back, but like learning to like me now this way can be really, really hard too. And I feel, I think he has all positive things, but like just learning to embrace the healing of things too. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that's it, unless you got something else, man.
No.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in for part 2. Again, church starts at 9 a.m. tomorrow. So I didn't see Rev's notes. Did you?
No, but I heard his prayer this morning, so I got a feeling the notes are going to be long.
So again, don't be afraid to pack a lunch, and most of us hang out until about 11 o'clock anyway. But church starts at 9 a.m. Hope to see you guys there.
And again, thank you, Morton,
our
for being
pleasure.
here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
Thank you,
greatly
guys.
appreciate it, and we hope that you guys get a little bit of insight and understanding of what drives the Morton family. And I know that it's whether it's opening up or whether it's just sharing a piece of stuff that you're uncomfortable about cannot be fun at times, but understanding that that's how everybody is. It's whenever you try to make yourself somebody that you're not
Right.
in front of people and you just don't enjoy yourself. And that's what's cool about this is you can get on here and say, hey, I normally in 50 people I wouldn't want to tell this story, but there's just you guys here. So if you are listening, everybody's human.
Yeah.
Everybody, they hurt. So
Absolutely.
all right.
It's like the song says, everybody hurts.
Sometimes.
Thanks
Okay,
for coming in, guys.
think
We
we've lost
appreciate
Nate.
it. We love you guys. And hopefully we will see everybody listening tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Stay blessed, guys.
Bye.